Eriksen en la ventana de enero. Eriksen en enero. Eriksen could be heading to the Santiago Bernabeu. According to reports, it is the president of Real Madrid who wants him in Florentino Perez. But Zinedine Zidane not so keen. He still wants Paul Pogba. Sid, Perez is the only winner, surely, of this scrap.
Well, except that this is a scrap that we had in the summer, and Zidane won that time. Zidane was adamant, as you've just pointed out, that it was Pogba that he wanted. Real Madrid, knowing that it was very difficult to get Pogba, they'd lined up a couple of other deals. One was this one, of course. One was De Beek from Ajax, and there was a very clear sense from Real Madrid that right, we want to bring a midfielder in. These are the two that we think can work. But Zidane was so adamant that it had to be Pogba that in the end they didn't get any of those players. So if for this story to re-emerge and for it to re-emerge from the club, it's because either Florentino or the rest of the directors have decided we do this anyway, or because Zidane has backed down, or of course because they've just decided, right, well, we want to try and force the issue on this. Now, there's a little bit of me that doesn't entirely see the point in this deal. Now, Real Madrid at the moment, if you look at the squad lists in recent weeks, admittedly because of some injuries, they actually put the squad list, they publish them, goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, forwards, and there's great big long lists everywhere and then a tiny little list in the midfielder category. And so they do need midfielders in terms of numbers, but what they don't really need in truth is another number 10 stroke attacking midfielder stroke kind of creative forward. They've got lots of those, and so this is a deal where I think that they want to make it done. They want to get it done rather. They know that this is a market opportunity because of course Eriksen, because of his contractual situation at Spurs, would come very cheap, but then of course in the summer he would come for free.
This is it. Just a reminder, obviously his contract is up at the end of this season. Good enough for Real Madrid, Christian Eriksen?
I think he's been an important player over the years for Tottenham Hotspur. Maybe not quite as much lately, but his mind, I think, has been a bit scrambled by everything that's been going on. He wanted to go to Real Madrid. I think it's a pretty open secret in the summer. It didn't happen. I think they'd get him for something like £30 million because of the situation with his contract in January. So you could see that happening because you get the feeling at Tottenham that something's got to give and they need to freshen things up. So, yeah, I think if Real Madrid want him enough, it can happen.
Do you let him go in January, Stevie? Do you say, right, OK, let's just get some money for him and move on?
Well, I think if he's... And he looks as though he's kind of half-chucked it. He looks as though he's not interested.
Right.
And, of course, we know Daniel Levy likes bringing money in. So it seems to me that you would just let him go, get some money and get rid of a bad egg and start building again.
Does he fit, though, into this Real Madrid team?
I think he's a good enough player for Real Madrid. I don't think right now Real Madrid is in a position where you can just turn players away because there are some areas in which you have to be concerned. And so injuries are part of the reality of Real Madrid now, whether it's Luka Modric or Toni Kroos. There's nobody who can take the position of Casemiro. But the point that Sid is making makes a whole lot of sense in that kind of player is not exactly what you need. So you're just bringing him to make numbers up. You're not bringing him because he's addressing a need, an area in which you're saying, you know what, we have to have a player like this. It doesn't quite make sense from that point of view. In terms of the market value, it makes a whole lot of sense for Real Madrid to invest in a guy who would have come at a much higher price in what is going to be a discounted price in the end.
How problematic, Sid, could it be going forward that Zidane doesn't get Pogba?
I honestly don't know the answer to that because obviously it's problematic now, and it's, you know, he wanted Pogba into the side for the start of this season. As the season moves on and he starts to find solutions, and of course we've seen very good performance in the last game from Fede Valverde, who has some of Pogba's qualities, not quite the same sort of player, but he covers a lot of ground, he's quite direct, he gets into both penalty areas, so there is a sense that they're finding solutions there. So I don't necessarily think if they can find an alternative to Pogba that is similar enough, that have a similar kind of skill set, a similar sort of level, then perhaps it's not too much of a problem. But it was a problem in the summer, not least, of course, because it created that degree of tension between Zidane and the club, that Zidane felt that the club, who had promised to get him the players they wanted, promised to, by the way, to get rid of the players that he wanted, weren't able to do so. Now, there's a difference between not being able to do so and refusing to do so, which is why I think that those kind of problems can be overcome. But of course, there is that little bit of tension that still remains.